Hello everybody, my name is Ray. Welcome to the Evangelical Dark Web. Today we're going to be going into the Francis Collins, Russell Moore leaked tapes that were acquired by the Daily Wire. Now, the Daily Wire's reporter Megan Basham has been doing great work. She's been taking what we have done on the low levels here at Evangelical Dark Web, not directly from us though, and blasting it to a major audience from arguably one of the top definitely a top 5 conservative news website. And she's been doing excellent reporting there, especially when it comes to taking issues that people like me focus on and blasting them to a major audience. So that's very good work that she's doing. I applaud it. And this leaked audio tape that she acquired on a conference where Russell Moore and Francis Collins were giggling about mandates and stuff like that was excellent work, is greatly written. My only complaint about the article is they don't show us the tape. They should have published the leaked audio that they had. They should have done that. But again, it doesn't take away from the fact that it's a very well written piece. It just should have had the published audio to go along with it. So with that said, we're going to be taking a look at this. And Evangelical Dark Web, we blasted Francis Collins early on about, his participation in mass murder. That's what we're going to call this. It was mass murder. And he has been a prop by theological liberals to kind of convince evangelicals that he's one of them, even though he's not one of us. He's theologically liberal, which he's not evangelical by conviction. He's theologically liberal. He's one of the founders of the Biologos Conference, which is an entire conference dedicated to inserting theological liberalism into the creation account, which is a decades-old issue that we've already settled at this point. So, that being said, let's dive into the article. Don't forget to like the video, also subscribe to the channel. If you want to support Evangelical Dark Web as we uncover people like Francis Collins, certainly earlier than the average bear finds out about him, because again, Megan Basham is downstream from Evangelical Dark Web. We're up here in the sticks reporting on stuff like this, and eventually it trickles out to the mainstream. That's what Megan Basham is, and if you want to support that, you can become a Patreon-like subscriber over at evangelicaldarkweb.org. Patreon censors, and that's why we don't use them. That's why we built our own. So, with that said, let's actually read the article, specifically the more pertinent section, because Megan Basham does go on a nice tear of evangelical establishments that promoted Moore and Collins. Now, Russell Moore, obvious wolf. He's a wolf in wolf's clothing, not a wolf in sheep's clothing. And Francis Collins is like someone who doesn't really believe in Christianity, but is touted by Big Eva as a Christian scientist. And he sucks at being both a Christian and a scientist. So with that said, let's read verbatim what it says. The event, which included an interview portion along with a question and answer session, was hosted by Christianity Today theologian Russell Moore on behalf of the Institute of Politics, an organization founded by senior Obama advisor David Axelrod. It began, actually, let's pause right there. David Axelrod, high notoriety Obama official. Like, he is a big name in the Obama administration, or was a big name in the Obama administration. And he has an organization. Russell Moore is a guest speaker at that organization's event. Not Christianity Today's event. The David Axelrod's Institute of Politics. Russell Moore has always been a left-wing activist working in the church. That is what he is. That is what he's always been. And just going to an event like this just exposes the fraud that he is. Francis Collins, again, he's not that much of a fraud. He's a fraud in that he pretends to be a Christian, but he's otherwise pretty open about his beliefs that undermine belief in the Bible. So he's pretty open about that. It began with Moore introducing Collins, a personal friend and member of his book club. I assume that's Moore's book club, which is cringe. To a select group of students, Moore described as future elected officials, diplomats, and economists. Moore said that he invited Collins to explain the effort they have made separately and together to deal with evangelical resistance to the vaccine, or the jab is a more scientifically correct way to word it. It's the jab. With COVID and some of the controversies we've had over masking and government mandates. So again, they're speaking to a very left-wing audience about the church. They're bad-mouthing the church to a pagan audience. Why are they bad-mouthing the church to a pagan audience? Because they're not part of the church. And I have no qualms about saying that. Though in January, the Supreme Court struck down an emergency Labor Department regulations that would have forced private businesses with 100 or more employees to require vaccination, the mandates for healthcare workers and federal contractors still stands. I don't know about that latter part. Again, just speaking from experience, federal contractors have relaxed their position on the mandates. That is what I'm hearing from across the board. And as someone who works in the industry, I can tell you the issue has not been revisited in months. Like not even in 2022. So I'm not sure if that's entirely correct. According to a February 2 report from Forbes, the White House believes that a broader federal mandate is still on the table. Interesting. And again, that was largely after the issue is defeated. 6 months before the Chicago event, in a separate interview with Moore, who is at the head of the public policy arm of the largest Protestant denomination in the U.S., that's the ERLC, by the way, Collins had assured evangelical audiences that there would not be any mandating of vaccines from the U.S. government. So part of what Megan Basham's doing here is trying to create a hypocrisy or a lie between what Collins is saying publicly and what he's saying privately in this meeting. Because again, Collins is a political hat. He's a politician. And Collins made it clear to Axelrod students that his views, too, had shifted in support of the new agenda. Actually, let me read the sentence before that. However, by early September, Biden had shifted towards aggressive pursuit of coerced vaccination under threat of employment. So Collins is now in support of that. Speaking from a legal rather than medicinal standpoint, Collins responded to the question regarding the wisdom of the federal vaccine mandates by pointing to the 1905 Supreme Court case, Jacobson versus Massachusetts, that dealt with a much more deadly smallpox virus. That's also a Supreme Court case that the Supreme Court got wrong, let's be real. But it also did not result in forced jabbing. In a summary for the American Enterprise Institute, legal scholar Sean Trendy called the ruling a previously obscure 116-year-old precedent that barely warrants a footnote in the most constitutional law treatises. But he noted that non-experts have taken to citing it whenever anyone questions the legality or constitutionality of vaccine mandates in response to COVID-19 pandemic. Collins referenced it in this fashion at the Institute of Politics engagement, telling the students that because of Jacobson, there is no question in my mind that the mandates are legal. He then argued that intimidation tactics should be used to motivate the resistant to the vaccine jab. See, that's a mistake in Megan Basham's writing. She shouldn't be using the word vaccine. Unless it's quoted, but still, it's a jab. The U.S. government does have the authority to mandate jabs or vaccinations if there is an outbreak that is threatening people, because it is not just about you. It's about the people you're going to infect. Collins claimed, even though science journals were already reporting by that point that the jabbed were just as likely to spread than the then dominant Delta variant as those who were unjabbed, or pureblood, as we like to say at Evangelical Dark Web. Collins went on to ask rhetorically, do mandates convince people who otherwise wouldn't get them? He answered himself, oh yeah, especially if it means losing your job. And this is where it gets more twisted. This is where it gets more cruel. Again, first of all, there's no science here, because the whole fallacy of, if the jab works, you don't need me to get it. If your jab works, you don't need me to get it. As evidence, he described how successful the threat of unemployment was in persuading vaccine-hesitant NIH employees and contractors to get vaccinated. Or jabbed, my bad. When Collins made it clear to the 2,000 out of 46,000 workers who would still decline to take the jabs that they were in serious danger of being fired in the next month if they didn't do something about it, Collins said he got a big response. Again, what a douche. Reality was sinking in, he explained, so that even the pretty darn resistant elected to get jabbed. He then chuckled. You get the feeling that their resistance was maybe quite that deeply seated. And he speculated that deep down, many unjabbed people may actually want to get the vaccine, but resist doing so out of peer pressure. And that's asinine. It's completely the reverse. It's the reverse of that. They're sort of thinking to themselves, maybe I really should do it, but if I do, I'll lose credibility with my peeps. He really used the word peeps. Mandates, he argued, can give such individuals a way to save face because they can tell their social circle, well, my employer made me do it. I didn't really want to get them. First of all, that makes you look like a sellout. That is what you sound like if that's what you're telling people. They get, bonus points because they're now a victim. No, they're not. But they've also gotten the mandated vaccine that they kind of wanted anyway. He's trying to use plausible deniability here. Like, this is, again, he's just a douche. Collins said evangelicals in particular overemphasize notions of personal liberty when it comes to mandates, saying that they have so wrapped themselves in the flag and wrapped themselves in this concept of personal freedom that public health just grates on them. Evangelicals have forgotten many times that freedom is not just about rights, Collins contended. He then employed a mocking caricature of a southern accent, asking the students, how many times have you heard my freedoms mean I got rights? Well, okay. You also have that other word, responsibilities. That's what freedoms are supposed to incorporate. Again, I have no duty to get jabbed because you're jabbed. Both Collins and Moore noted that they were enjoying the opportunity to speak freely because the event was not being formally recorded. That's the funny part, is that, this is what they're acting like behind closed doors to their actual peers. Because again, these two people aren't part of the church. They're part of Satan's crowd. They're part of the Democrats. And there's really nothing left else to read in this article. It's a lot of catch-up, context, and that's what makes this a pretty good piece, is that it gives you a lot of the context underlying the issue that Megan Basham's reporting on. So again, like I said, nothing really new. Francis Collins is just even more evil behind closed doors, because you know what they say, integrity is what you do when no one's looking. Well, this is how he acts, not in public. Complete douche. So, part of what I like doing in Evangelical Dark Web is exposing people before they become really, really big. Like before people like Megan Basham take on the story. Or before, here's another thing. The most popular article I've ever written on Evangelical Dark Web is the one on Michael Todd, or Mike Todd. That is the most popular article I've ever written. And that article was published before he got huge. And huge he got. So that's what I like to do. And I can't do it without reader requests. So definitely submit reader requests. You can always do that at evangelicaldarkweb.org/request a verdict. But if you want to support this effort, evangelicaldarkweb.org/join. That is a place to do it at most. That's your at most. But you can also subscribe to the RSS feed and check out evangelicaldarkweb.org. So that's all I got to say about that for today. My name is Ray. This is the Evangelical Dark Web, and I will catch you on the next one.